You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Oh, by the way, I did notice that Courtney was in the background. I'm not sure if she's okay with that or not.
Oh yeah, like you can see your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you just casually move. Yeah. Okay, so just stay perfectly still the entire time. No. All right, and welcome back to Press Turn, a video game podcast. We talk about video games, I suppose.
Ew.
Um, it's a good time for sure. I mean, if you're not into it yet, uh, you should take a look at those. They're pretty all right. Might be a nice
Also,
distraction from
thanks for stopping by.
yeah. How did you find us if you're not into video games? Anyway, um,
Deep questions.
hmm, deep questions, deep cuts. We will be getting into some deep cuts a little bit later, but
Yes.
I guess I'll switch things up and start off first because I don't have much. Uh, yeah. So I haven't really played a whole lot other than Elden Ring. Um, Still good game. I've made a bit of progress. So, interestingly enough, I actually respect my stats and went into more of a melee build, or I guess more specifically a strength build. So I can mess around with some of the more um, bigger weapons like great swords and colossal weapons.
Okay, so you're going for a buff boy.
Ye- yes, somewhat. Although currently my main weapon is a weapon that does fire damage and it also heals you. So it hasn't really changed much from my other cheese build, honestly. But it's a bit more it's a bit more interactive for sure. Which is pretty fun. Especially some of the bosses I took on recently.
Who have you
But
taken on?
I'm not sure if I should say, but I have taken on one one of the optional bosses, I guess. Uh for those of you who will know, after I beat it, it said Legend Feld as opposed to Great Enemy Feld or Lord Vanquished.
Ooh,
Yeah. Uh that boss is really
big deal.
cool. It kind of reminds me of the fight with Rom the Vacuous Spider from Bloodborne. It takes place out on like a big old lake with just nothing but the stars as the background, which was
Ooh,
pretty cool. Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah. It wasn't a super hard fight though, which was kind of surprising actually. Like excuse me. Like I was doing decent enough damage where it was like chunks at a time. Like I would say in total it was probably like if I was doing it on my own, it probably would have taken like I don't know, like 100 swings or so, which isn't that bad considering how some other bosses go.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I was also relying on the mimic tier to kind of take the heat off me a bit. So, um,
Oh, okay.
yeah. But yeah,
I know about that.
it I will say it definitely helped me with like understanding how it attacks. Just watching it go after someone else and just being like, oh, so that's how it moves. Okay. So I'll watch out for that and I'll
Yeah.
dodge. and I'll dodge like this rather than just spamming dodge like an idiot. Except for
Like
this
your
one
own,
attack. Sorry.
like your own handmade highlight reel.
Oh no. Yeah, but there is one attack that I ended up did just dodge spamming a lot, which was just like it cast this big spell where hang on, let me get some water.
Stay hydrated, everybody.
Hydrate, very important. So I hydrated him. No, uh, so he basically just summons like this big meteor storm, and it's kind of random where they land. So it's just like I can't really pay attention to where they're falling, so I'm just gonna spam spam dodge
Hmm.
like the entire time until I can feel like it's stopped. I still got necked a couple of times, but it was okay. Um I will say this, like since I was respecking, I put some more points into vigor, which increases your HP. And man, having more health definitely does make these boss fights less stressful for sure. Cause it's just
Huh.
like, oh well, that hit was pretty big, but it only took off like a quarter of my health, so it's not too bad. Whereas before it was either just like one, two, or three hits and I'm dead.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Um
And that's weird because most people I know, when they play any of those from software games, I mean, just a few hits, you're done for anyway.
mhm.
So it's interesting to know that the additional health matters now.
It definitely does. I would say if you are going into like a melee build, it's definitely much more important because like, anytime you're living is more time for you to study. Um so it's just like, okay, well, I know I'm probably dead this time, but at least it's like I got a little bit more so I can understand like some other attacks.
Yeah.
And I mean like every boss has like different phases to it too. Like they change up attacks. So it's always just like, it's always just like one more thing. Um and then you just have to be like, like if I had enough health to at least tank another attack in like the next phase, then it helps me kind of like prepare myself, or at least like when I get caught off guard, I'm not just dead, and it's more just like, oh, I'm still alive. Okay, cool. Also, it has that attack, huh? Weird. Uh,
Well, naturally, I get to live longer. I get to see more of what happens.
yeah, more life equals more time, I guess. Um,
Oh, that's deep, bro.
is it? I don't know. We're just talking about video games, but
Fair enough. But I mean, it is at this point a very significant hobby of ours.
yeah,
So take that as you may.
true. Yeah, so I I still haven't explored like the fourth area all that much.
Hmm.
I'll probably I'm not sure what else there is for me to do in terms of side quests, so I'll probably just move that along for now, and we'll see. Um, but other than that, spent spent some time with Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. Um, honestly, I'm still just trying to figure out what character I want to play with because the last time I played it was years ago, and I was playing Kanji,
Hmm.
and it's mostly just because like the people I was playing with, um, they're just like, dude, just pick Kanji. He's like super easy. You can even do his auto combo
Hmm.
and just fight that way. And I was like, okay, you know what? That's fair. Uh, because at least I could play with the people instead of just sitting back and watching them play.
Yeah.
Um, so, but it's yeah, like I've always wanted to play as I guess just because she's my favorite character from Persona 3.
Mhm.
But her system is very interesting because she basically has um a power up state called Orgia mode, uh, which is related to a mechanic she gets like later in the original game.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know, it's always interesting where it's like sometimes I wish I could just play an easy character, but then like the characters I really like, it turns out they're like somewhat complicated, or at other times they're like extremely complicated. Um, but yeah, I might just bite the bullet and just hop straight into online, so I can at least like start feeling around with Ultimax again. And completely forgot this was also one of the few games where I actually played with the D-pad and not the analog stick. Um, because for the life of me, I just can't seem to get the inputs right with the analog stick. It just seems to be like really tight in this one. Um,
Mhm.
I'm not really sure, but yeah, I like completely forgot about that because I was just like trying to do moves with the analog and just going like, why are these moves not coming out? And I'm literally looking down at my controller and just watching myself do the motions like, yeah, that looks right. That feels right. But then I look back up and it's just like, no, nope, they're just jumping forward. Okay, no. So yeah, that's one of those pains, but yeah,
So the
it should be
input
okay.
doesn't feel as good as other games.
Um, not necessarily. I think it's just for whatever reason, like Arxis games, the input required is, in my opinion, it feels a lot tighter compared to other fighting games. Like, I know with Street Fighter, they've definitely made it easier to perform special moves as
Mhm.
the titles went on. Because I still remember, like, what was it? I think when I was playing like Super Turbo like years ago, or sorry, Street Fighter 2 Super Turbo. I realize I'm not a fighting game podcast. I'm on a video game podcast. Um, yeah, so on Street Fighter 2 Super Turbo Edition, uh, I tried playing that game before, and I think I was trying to play Vega and Ryu, and it was just like I was kind of astonished where it was just like, wow, you have to kind of be oddly tight with analog input in that game. It's very surprising. Where I was just like, oh wow, this is how people were playing because it's kind of crazy because like that's because Super Turbo 2 was was like when the concept of combos existed. So
Mhm.
it's just like yeah, it's like the most is probably going to be like uh 9, 10 to maybe 20 hit combos if they're like honest combos and not just infinites. But it's still just kind of crazy when you think about like the concept of execution uh and then just realizing like man, they're like pro players are probably just moving their fingers like crazy. It probably even looks even or looks just as nuts as like playing World of Warcraft on a raid or playing
Mhm.
like League of Legends or something like that. But then it's
Yeah.
like each of those players look at the how the other one's playing and just goes like, "How do you do that?" Um,
Oh gosh, and those guys are probably planning they have to plan like what, 3 to 4 moves in advance because like this combo sets up for this like up into the air and then like this up in air continues to keep me in there so then I jump down then I have to jump back up to keep him in the air.
Not only that, it's also just like having your plan and then also going like, "Okay, but what if that plan fails and like what if like the character I hit falls back slightly more than I was expecting?" And it's like, "Oh, I gotta readjust," and then do
Uh
projectile low sweep. It
yeah, no, I
like
mean I understand like
yeah,
how just complex fighting games and that's probably what
yeah.
largely keeps me from playing them.
I mean like you do get a sense for it. It's just that like it takes time. It's not like it's not easy.
Oh no.
Like just as much as like learning how to play MMOs isn't easy and it takes time. Learning how to play MOBAs takes time. Learning learning how to play like Souls games takes time too. And
Mhm.
uh I think I think it has less to do with the accessibility and the skill gap and more just like um does a game does the game appeal to you? If it does, you'll stick with it. If not, then you won't, you know. And like that is one of those things where fighting games for a long time uh and continue to struggle with that where it's just like there's no clear formula necessarily. Because I mean, like all types of fighting games exist, and they're not necessarily the same either.
Mhm.
Like trying to pick the differences between Virtua Fighter and Tekken is is pretty wide. Picking the differences between Street Fighter and Guilty Gear, while not nearly as hard to spot the differences, it also takes an understanding with that as well.
Mhm.
Um, you don't have to take notes. I'm not going to quiz you, but
Oh, no, I'm, setting up the logo for our brand new podcast.
oh, okay.
Welcome
Take
back, everybody, to
take.
Fighter Z.
No, I think that's a copyright. We have to go with something else. Like I don't know. What would
How
that even be?
about how about, uh, Pokken Village Fighter?
Why are you just coming up with mirror characters? What? I don't know. Here's the mix up. Something like that. I don't know. There are some there are so many fighting game terms that I'm not even aware of, but there are quite a few that are insane. What's the one? Hang on. Sorry, I'm gonna look this up. Uh, once I find the URL, I'll send it to you too because this is probably
Do it.
this is like a ton of fun just to do in general. But yeah. Once again
Okay.
by the great Infill himself, the fighting game glossary, which takes all fighting game jargon. And there are some ones that are very typical, like the Shoryuken or Dragon Punch,
Yeah.
shortened to Shoryu.
I'm just gonna start with a random letter.
Yeah.
J.
J.
Jab, duh. Jab, reset. Okay. Jail. When you're forced to block an attack, you can normally avoid by crouching or sidestepping. Ah, mostly used in Tekken, Mortal Kombat, and Injustice.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yes.
John, a Smash Bros. Specific term meaning excuse.
Mm-hmm.
You'll hear Smash players saying "No
No
Johns."
Johns.
Oh, that hurts.
Yeah,
My name, man.
yeah,
Remind them to
um,
not blame the game or the sun in their eyes. Oh, that's great.
yeah. Here's one in particular that I like. Are you familiar with the Mexican uppercut? So, uh,
No, señor.
okay, so no hablas español. Okay, uh, this is actually like really old arcade slang. I learned about this recently too, but basically it's just it's just slang for like a better anti-air option. It originates from Street Fighter actually, and I'll just read the description here. Mexican uppercut. Old school slang for any normal that looks like Ryu's crouching heavy punch. A giant upward swing of the fist. It's not as powerful as a regular uppercut, but it can be easier to perform and still anti-air pretty effectively. So, that makes no sense, right? I'm gonna break that down a little bit. So, Ryu has his dragon punch, the Shoryuken, right? And
Yeah.
to do that, you have to do toward, down, down, toward, like this, bup, 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 and a punch. It's it's probably the originator of one of the more complex fighting game inputs.
Uh-huh.
Um, but uh, like the reason is fairly clear. Like it's a very good move early on. I think it had like some it. I think it started as having full invincibility. Um, unless you blocked it.
Mhm.
Um, but because the move was so powerful, then it was like, okay, well, you make the input complex, and then that's the risk for the reward, which is like this really good attack that not only works on the ground but also in the air, and no matter what, like if the opponent is hit by it, they fly back. Like it's essentially like a free knockdown. Um,
Oh, I get it.
yeah.
So it's
So
like the uppercut, but
yeah,
it's easier to perform and still does the job.
yeah. Well, that's Ryu's crouching heavy punch. So Ryu's crouching heavy punch is like him doing the Shoryuken, but it skips half of the animation and it just does it from the ground. So
I
and
think I
the
know where
reason
you're going.
why that's a better option is because it's much safer and you don't have to necessarily do the Shoryuken to get the same result, which is
Yeah,
just hold down and heavy and press heavy punch, so you can just go like and
right. Less
and
frames, less button input,
yeah,
efficiency.
safer, yeah, efficiency. Now, there are some other normals. I think this was from Street Fighter 2, where he had some other options that you could do instead that were probably even safer, like a light attack or a medium attack, even. So if it's just like the faster it can come out, the safer it is. Then obviously. So if it could even be like a jab or like forward medium punch or something like that. That's the Mexican uppercut because it's coming up with like the cheapest way to get the same result, essentially. Yeah,
And there
I
we have it,
yeah,
folks.
and again it's just slang. It's not meant in any way to be like harmful or to poke fun at anyone. It's just like that's the idea. Uh,
I
but
like
yeah,
the idea.
it's it's a very fun term uh when you just hear someone go like oh man, smart move with the Mexican uppercut by Diego Umahara. Uh, but yeah, Yeah, the fighting game glossary by Infill is such a great time. I highly recommend it. If not to increase your fighting game knowledge, at least just for some fun and just
Yeah.
and
Oh,
also
heck
just
yeah.
to be like, okay, what are these people talking about?
It's so orderly too. You can look by letter or you can look by game.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Infill.
actually have been playing, I played a lot of Blaze Blue before, so this is handy.
Oh, really? Um,
Uh-huh.
Cross tag or
The
Central Fiction?
first one,
Oh, yeah.
the first one.
I forget what it's called. I was gonna say Continuum Shift, but I think that's the second one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not
To
continuous
be
shift.
honest, I don't blame you because there are so many updates to that game that it's kind of crazy. It got that many releases.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm impressed. The only thing I'm really impressed with is like how they handle the story. Is like it's all bits and pieces
Hmm.
through the character, and and I did it on a whim on a stream for Gug one night, and I turned out to be like enjoying it a lot more than I thought. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna continue doing this.
Yeah. Because I mean, like, it's basically just watching a visual novel, pretty much.
Yeah,
Um, and the story is good. It's just that it's such an entire slog, and there's so many bits and pieces to the story that just kind of turn it into that just kind of turn it into like a mental jail in and of itself, where you're just like, wait, what happened here? Whose is
yeah,
this? Wait, wait, why is this canon? Oh, they're all
right.
canon.
I thought you were dead.
I was. I got better.
Calamity Trigger.
Yeah.
That's what the first one
Yeah,
is.
that's the one. But anyway, yeah. Fighting games are cool. You should check them out. That's my honest opinion. Anyway, um so also Testament just got released for Guilty Gear Strive. So I checked Testament out. I wasn't sorry, Testament hasn't announced their pronouns yet, so I don't know what to say about that.
Mhm.
But yeah, Testament's pretty cool, fairly interesting mechanic. I'm not sure if this is how they played in the last game, but essentially uh Testament has like a status that they can inflict on the opponent where if you hit him with it, they get this purple aura, and then if you
Mhm.
hit him again, the the aura explodes. So it's essentially like getting extra damage on top of it.
I got
The
you.
trade-off being uh you won't you won't be able to easily continue combos off of it. I mean I'm not really a combo meister myself, so I can't really say what's necessarily good or bad about it, but that's just my initial thoughts on it.
Mm.
Um, but it's pretty cool. I like how it all feels. It does give me another option besides just playing Ramlethal every time.
Mhm.
Because a lot of the Guilty Gear characters just feel very distinctly unique to me. Where it's just like it's very tough to feel like I could stick with certain characters. Like I kind of wanted to play Potemkin, but he kind of plays weird, and honestly, like I don't really like the idea of playing as a slow grappler. Although I understand the reasons why around that.
Mhm.
Um, and I think like I was trying to play Jacko, but I just can't understand her gameplay in Strive. Like even less so compared to how she was in Exarch 2. um,
Right.
cause like uh she Jacko now kind of plays like how Venom did in but it's kind of weird because like you have to set up her satellite attacks first. Where it's like I have to set down her little satellites first before I can start attacking with them. But it's also like they're very weird because you kind of have to place them accordingly if you want to make it uh, like really effective. Like it's almost it feels like you have to have like galaxy brain mind reads of how your opponent's gonna move or something like that, or just be like absolutely aware of
In
spacing in the
control.
game.
Yeah.
Because it could like technically speaking, you could do it to a point where it's like I could put down 3 satellites to make it so that like um as I start the combo, I could start them from the ground to up in the air or something like that. Um but it's very interesting, but I just wish I could exercise the capacity in order to do that. I don't know.
Hmm.
Although to be honest, I haven't used the new combo search feature that they added a while back. Um, that thing is a godsend, honestly. Like even if it doesn't work like super well, I I would say every fighting game should have something like that. Like an online resource that anyone could add to, where it's just like, hey, I came up with this sick combo, check it out, and you
Oh
just download
yeah.
the combo and then go straight into the training room with it.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, that'd be really cool.
yeah, it's super cool. It's essentially like it's essentially like a variation of the playback of the playback feature that they were messing around with the rollback update to Guilty Gear Cross 2. Um,
Hmm.
where that one it was just like it would play back replay footage, but then at any point you could stop it and then just jump in right away and start like, okay, so I messed up this option. What if I did this instead? And like you could literally jump right into it and just do it right away. I don't know how they did it. That's kind of wild to me, honestly. But it's a super cool idea. Uh,
Hmm.
but understandably, it probably would be hard to implement into new games. Just because like the scope is much bigger compared to a game that was released like goodness, like more than 20 years ago. So, um, but yeah, it's still like I like this new age of Arc System Works where um besides just releasing hype fighting games, they're also expanding upon quality of life features that people uh have been asking for forever and just coming up with like new ideas to improve those quality of life features.
Yeah.
And even them just like going back to older games and just being like, hey, you know what? We could add rollback to Ultimax. We could add rollback back to Guilty Gear. Um, that list of the older games that they've worked on is starting to become smaller. Where now it's like almost their entire library can now be played with rollback on it. Um, a few
Sweet.
ones missing are this would almost be a miracle if they could ever get to work on this again, but um if they could add rollback to the Fist of the North Star fighting game that they did years ago, that
Hmm.
would be excellent. That game is like utter nonsense. It's completely broken, but that would be great to have back. If hopefully at some point they were able to add these to their more current games like Grand Blue Fantasy and Dragon Ball Fighters, that'd be great as well. Uh, we'll have to see though. But that's pretty much it for me. Jonathan, what about you?
Oh, cool. I haven't been going through much myself either. I got a review code for 1P2B Studios' very first game, Young Souls. Um, dear viewer, if you thought we were done talking about fighter games, we're not.
Oh,
Because Young Souls is a 2D side-scrolling beat 'em up game. Not so much in the vein of, you just fight on screen, but more of like Double Dragon, River City Girls fighting beat 'em up. Um, so I played all the way through that, uh, thanks to thanks to its difficulty settings and its accessibility, which I'll get to in a minute.
mhm,
But um, uh, pretty good game. I think overall I'm gonna give it an 8 because the gameplay was solid, um, story was decent, um, and I had a pretty good time with it in the 8 to 10 hours it took to finish the game. Really wasn't that long at all, and very very fairly straightforward, and not bad for a first time dev. So when I said accessibility, so they've got options where you can reduce the amount of health taken from you, and you can lower the enemy's health. You can add invisibility frames to your special attack, and a few other things. Like increase your speed and lower the attack speed of the enemies.
mhm,
Real fun stuff. I turned them on and I was like, man, this is gonna be a really nice easy go through. And yeah, it sure was. Um, so I just got to sit back, play the game, so I could review it, and um, had a fun blast with it. And it's got that option, but it's also got options, to lower all that stuff and to increase the difficulty. It's got relaxed and difficult and experienced as their ratings. And the combo system's not bad. It kind of relies on like being able to um throw your opponent against the wall and then bounce back so you can hit them. Oh my gosh, they launch really bad at the end of a combo. But I didn't know that was for the sake of you being able to bounce them against the wall so they could come back at you and then you could hit them again. Um,
mm, okay.
but yeah,
Yeah.
not bad. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just gonna say I'm on the Steam page right now, just looking at it. It does look it does look very interesting. So is it? It does kind of remind me of like Streets of Rage, where like you can kind of go into the foreground and the background as well. Um, but I guess you're right. It does fit more with River City Girls or like the Kunio-kun franchise in general.
Yeah,
Uh,
the level layouts aren't exactly left and right. You like you said, you can go into the foreground, like or come a little closer. They've got I guess in a weird way, weird 2.5 level layouts. It's where you weren't always just going, to the right of your screen.
okay.
Yeah, and gosh, they had armor that you could see, on your character. You could
Yeah, I did
change
notice that too.
you could change the clothing. Shoes are like apparently a different object than anything, but the shoes were like its own shop and its own set of specials, like being able to increase the your dash or add a percentage bonus to your attacks. But, oh yeah, so when I finish the review, I'm definitely like recommending it to people.
Mm,
Let's see. Oh, goodness. I'm also trying to finish up Mark of the Ninja. I think I got that game like a couple years ago and played it, and I liked it a lot. So I was really on that stealth game kick, and then I dropped it. And I was like, I need to play some more games and finish up what I've started before I buy new games.
The
So
remastered version?
remastered version.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh
Um,
man. Wow.
yeah, talk about a solid game.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. It's been such a long time since seeing Mark of the Ninja. That's a pretty old game too.
Yeah, and every time I mention it, everybody's got something good to say about it. So it's definitely not an underrated game for sure.
Mhm. I didn't realize
Um,
that this is actually the same studio that did wait a minute. Yeah. Yeah, it's the same studio that did Oxygen Not Included, Don't Starve Together, Crypt of the Necrodancer, and Shank of all things. Oh my goodness.
wow,
Yeah.
man, they've got a repertoire.
Oh, they also did Eats. Oh wow, okay.
Man,
Yeah.
they make some good games.
Yeah. I bought Hot Lava from them too. Hot Lava's a lot of fun. Um it's basically like a speedrunning platformer um in first person. Basically just like doing speed trials in like a big obstacle course and stuff.
Oh, hot lava.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, and I
Yeah,
didn't
I thought that looked neat.
yeah. I didn't look at Griftlands, but uh I mean to be perfectly honest, like I'm not a huge fan of deck builder games. I've tried out a few, but um they don't necessarily sit well with me. Uh
Mhm.
but yeah, wow. They have done like a good variety of games here.
Invisible ink. Yeah, good variety too.
Mhm.
But yeah, anyway, so I'm enjoying that. I think I'm halfway through. Like this story wise, I'm at the point where you take out the Russian antagonist, who's supposedly holding all the chips, but come to find out your your uh your own people are actually betraying you. So
Oh my glob.
yeah. So I'm at that twist in the story. And other than that, I actually got a review code for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
Oh, so you're
And
covering it.
yeah, about that.
Oh, I
Um,
see.
well, it kind of got a little crosshair, and I don't know why. Because I know that I did say yeah, I'll cover it. Um, and and then the code came directly to me, from the guy.
Oh,
So I was
okay.
like, "Oh, yeah, cool, it's here." Um, and then I saw the conversation happening over in the chat, and there was like, "Oh, no, I don't know where the code's at, but, it's supposed to be here." And I was like, "Hey, I got it." And they're like, "You do?" I was like, "Yeah." And like, "Oh, well, I thought you hated Borderlands." I was like, "Not exactly." I mean, and I'm pretty sure I went back and looked at what I said. Um, and yeah, I didn't give Borderlands like an absolute I hate it. I was just I couldn't figure out like what I didn't like about it,
Yeah.
and and I did abandon 2 in the backlog golf. But then I told them like, I finally figured out that after talking to Sam, I was just playing the game completely wrong because I just thought that the character at the beginning was just a character skin, not a class. I had
Mhm.
no idea how to play Borderlands,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
um,
that's definitely important. I mean, I don't know who what you heard at first, but I would say that's definitely an important thing.
And well, that's the thing. I didn't hear anything. Like I just, I'm kind of a numbskull when I go into these things. I just go, I see a game, it looks pretty, I go and play it.
Yeah, I mean that's totally fair, but for sure.
So, and the whole reason, and actually, Tiny Tina was the reason I wanted to get into the Borderlands finally, was because the game looked really funny. Um, what's his name? Andy Samberg voice acting one of the characters. I'm like,
Oh,
I love
okay.
that guy, and Will Arnett as the villain. I'm like, dude, like, how can
Oh
you say
wow.
no to this? And it's about Dungeons and Dragons. Like, you hardly have to know anything about Borderlands to even play the game. And I still hold that, and I'm like a couple hours like deep into the game.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there's just like the reoccurring references of characters who play something else as Tina's narrating the story, but that's about it. So yeah, um, and that game has had me legitimately laughing all the way through. At least through the way through. It's just really good.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm
Yeah.
excited to play it, and
Uh
I'm excited to go back into the other games and play them as well.
well, hopefully we'll have you here when our resident FPS nerd and Discord manager and stream manager comes on. Because we probably will be talking a lot about Borderlands on that one. But
Oh, all right.
yeah. Um yeah. I mean that's good. Like I'm glad you're at least enjoying it cuz like for all the faults that the Borderlands series has, I think for one the gameplay is definitely one of those things where it's like it's not perfect, but it definitely hits its stride very well uh with um at least in regards to the end game. And it's sort of just like I've kind of wished like Gearbox was able to just like kind of turn Borderlands into almost like a free to play kind of model.
Mhm.
Um
Interesting.
maybe with different writers personally, but other than that it's just like that way it's like they could focus on the gameplay a bit more and kind of like really tighten the screws on that and like make guns more interesting. Because I will say this, I think like pre-sequel is my personal favorite, but I think when Borderlands 3 came around, um there were I feel like there were a lot of designers who just went swinging on the gun designs in that game. Just like, you know what? Let's not even worry about if the guns are funky enough. Let's just like um put some love into these guns cuz the guns in Borderlands 3 are quite possibly my most favorite ones. Um
Mhm.
even if there aren't necessarily like even though there aren't nearly as many interesting unique guns, I feel like the guns in general just feel a lot better compared to the other games.
Hmm. Okay.
I'm pretty much in love with the entire Jacob's line, just because of the reload animations alone.
Is that the one that you throw when you reload it?
Oh no, that's a TDR actually, which is still pretty good, but just all the unique animations they came up with for TDR, just like the one where it's just like they're loading in shots into a rifle manually.
Mhm.
Um, there's one there there's a legendary revolver in 3 where you just pop out the shells, and they fling their hand up, and then 6 bullets go into the chamber, and you just slap it back in. I was just like, "Oh my goodness. That's so
That
sick."
sounds pretty satisfying.
Yeah,
Yo, I did have a shotgun in Tiny Tina, and just the reloading sound. I know this sounds weird, but it sounded so satisfying.
yes. Uh, there's a subreddit that's all about reload animations, actually. Um, but
Oh,
that's the thing is like, like Borderlands in general, I feel like it's one of those things where it's like it's very video gamey, but at the same time, it really understands the concepts of like technical design and just like feeding into that. Um, with
mm,
like reload animations and everything, where it's just like you feel like even if you're not like manually doing the reload, you really feel it just by watching it. Because
mm.
the sound design is on point too. Uh, and like the guns are super cool.
Oh,
Uh
aren't they?
they fire very appropriately, I think, to how they're designed as well. Like the fact that um well, I mean, I guess like grenade launchers probably aren't that realistic. But even then it's still just like, well, I don't know. We're talking about a game where there's a whole subline of shotguns that use rockets instead of shells. So, yeah. But I mean like I just mean to say that like the gun designs in the Borderlands series is very cool. I like them a lot, and
I will definitely agree with that, and I
yeah,
never had a complaint about them.
yeah. Man, you're making me want to buy Tiny Tina's Wonderlands right now, but I can't. I really want to,
Well,
but I don't know.
it's it is definitely, when you see it on sale, get it kind
Yeah.
of game.
I did decide that I would get it on sale because like honestly, I know that like at some point I will want to check it out anyway, even though I told myself that I was done with Borderlands, but it's still just like, well, I did see some footage and I saw a crossbow. So now I'm just like, dang it, I really want to check out that crossbow now.
Yeah. Maybe
Uh,
you can answer this for me, but, the crossbow and all the guns have a switch, like, the crossbow has, like, a 2-shot and then a 4-shot that you can change out between,
hmm.
um, and, I picked up a sniper rifle that also had a rocket launcher attachable to it that you could switch between. Is that a staple, or was that something they
That was actually introduced in Borderlands 3.
Mm,
So like before that, it would pretty much be like burst fire single shot and full auto was kind of like a subset for certain weapons. Like some SMGs could be full auto, some could be single shot or sorry, manual fire rather.
mm, mhm,
Um or or burst fire. But then in 3 they basically just made it so that like there were a lot of guns that had separate firing modes like there's a set of sniper rifles in 3 that essentially work like mid-range rifles.
mhm.
So they weren't necessarily suitable for sniping, but they were useful as kind of like uh kind of like carbines essentially. Um so it
I
was
got you.
like and I think it's specifically the flat off line for that where it's like there's the one where it's just the single fire, or there's the one that you can do multiple shots without needing to like necessar like quote unquote like reload the chamber.
Mhm.
And there were also some where like it was a machine gun that also had like a pivot. a pivot mode where it was just like you move slower, but you got in return like more stability with
Oh, that's
firing.
nice.
Yeah. I didn't use it all that much because movement is actually kind of important in the game. Uh,
Yes.
but it is interesting that they added it. I thought it was pretty cool because it's like because it gave pistols um, more variety in how you use them. Um, and some and yeah, like you said before, like some sniper rifles coming with a shotgun launcher or a rocket launcher uh, was also pretty good too. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think for the Model One line, you could switch between certain elements too, so that became really important. It
Ooh.
was like, okay, like I want shock and fire for this one, or I want oh shoot, what was the other one again? Or like nuke and freeze on this one, or something
Nice.
like that. Yeah, it that one also it definitely helped like really change up uh like wanting to get different guns. Because if it's like, well, my class focuses on like fire and shock element, then I'll want more fire and shotguns instead. Um, yeah, it's pretty cool. Dang, now I really want to get it. I'm not gonna think about it right now, but yeah.
Oh no, I've created FOMO.
I mean, to be honest, I've been thinking about it for a while anyway. So it's not that it's not that bad really, but just talking about this again is just like, man, I wish Borderlands were about the games rather than the story. Honestly, it uh
Yeah, no, I definitely feel you on the story writing for three, because I watched it and it didn't seem as good as the others before. So
it's definitely weaker. I personally liked it just out of a ironic sense rather than like a genuine sense. Just because I mean, like if you think about it, you're really just dealing with a bunch of TikTokers
yeah,
trying to make
I
it
mean,
in the
there's
world, and you just
yeah,
completely stomp them, and it's just like, yeah, this is a joke. It's hilarious. I love it. Uh,
it's great because I mean they didn't set themselves into a hole with the idea of vault hunting and Pandora, and but yeah, no, it's true.
yeah.
You're
Um,
just beating up
yeah.
influencers.
I mean, personally, I would love it. I don't mind it always being about like finding a vault because that's kind of the point, and it's also like uh, not to get too technical about it, but it's a very easy end goal to go towards where it's just like, hey, at the end of this game, there's gonna be a lot of loot which you can get to. It's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's perfectly fine. If it's just like a bunch of legendary guns that I can mess around with, in like end game stuff, then that I'm perfectly okay with that. Like that's the thing, because um, like I said before, I think the most fun I've had with Borderlands is when I'm playing the DLC campaigns rather than like the actual story. Um,
Mm,
where it's just like it's just these small little contained stories that that aren't necessarily attached to anything bigger, and it's just like, well, I like the gameplay, um, and I want to grind for more loot, but I want it to be interesting. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um,
Yes.
so it's like I feel like if they were allowed to, Gearbox could make like a roguelike version of this somehow. Well, I mean, to be fair, they already did. It's just called Rise of the Cartels on Mayhem mode, pretty much. Uh, which is just like yeah, just add more modifiers to the enemies, and then give them like a very short campaign where it's just like it runs through a gauntlet where you're exploring side paths and stuff, and shooting down different types of enemies where there's like a random boss and everything there too.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Yeah. So like if you build up on that anyway, not my point. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just take a peek and see if there's a sale going on for it yet. Because I know there was some going on recently.
Check the cheap Steam key websites.
Oh, don't tempt me. I would very much want to. But yeah. So was that all? Or
Yeah, that's all.
okay. Then I guess we can just get straight into um our topic, uh which was graciously provided without his knowledge by LJ Lowry for sharing Xbox's tweet. Um
Yes.
which by the way, small plug-in, you should totally follow XLJ Lowry, who does fine video game screenshots.
Very fine.
Yes, he is quite good. If you like some epic screenshots of video games, he does a lot of work into that. Uh,
Has been featured if I'm not mistaken.
yes,
So
from
there's
the
cred.
yeah. Oh shoot, I forgot the name of that stream. I'll have to look it up. Now that I've mentioned it, I'll have to put these both up again. So
The gametographers.
yes, the game tographers. Thank you, thank you. I knew I had you here for some reason. But yeah. So what Xbox said, which I thought was actually like a very interesting discussion, because I feel like everyone has a different answer on this.
Mhm.
Like what do you think is a criminally underrated game? I have mine. Um and I could go on for a while about it. So, but Jonathan, I know you said you were having some trouble picking one in particular.
Yes. But I think with the time allotted, I have definitely whittled it down. So I've got a toss up between Lufia 2, Rise of the Sinestrals,
Oh wow, deep.
and um the PlayStation 2 uh action RPG by Tri-Ace, Radiata Stories.
Oh
And
yeah.
if
Wow.
I'm
Okay.
honest, I think I'm just gonna go with Radiata Stories because I've actually I've played that one probably more than any other game I know or I
Hmm.
own.
See, this is very awkward because I know we talked about it last time, so now it's just like, okay, what did we talk about now? Well, I don't know. Why don't you know more about it? I feel so. Help me set it up. What is Radio Stories? What's it about? Talk to me like I'm 10 and I don't know
Um,
what video games are.
Overall, it's a story about humans and non-humans not getting along, and the choice one character has to make between choosing which side and uh, fighting for loyalty or love.
Yes, that is very accurate actually, and very succinct as well. Um, yeah, I mean, for me myself, I've played through it at least 3 times. Um, because yes, there are two different paths, and they actually change up what you experience in the game. significantly, even in the post game dungeon, which I thought was actually like really cool. I was
Yeah,
like, "Oh wow, I did not know it went that far." Unfortunately, the end boss was the same, which was kind of disappointing. But I mean, it is a
true.
staple. The last boss is a staple in Tri-Ace anyway. I know she's been in other games as well.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the stories, boss. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
the Ethereal Queen. I like that about Triace.
Hmm.
Leaving them in at the super dungeon, the
Super budget.
super, the
The super
super
bunion.
dungeon, the super bunion final boss.
Yeah.
Get
She
off
she
my
is.
ethereal plane!
I mean, she isn't wearing shoes, so she probably has super bunions.
That's probably why she's mad.
Yeah, all the time too. Like, jeez,
Yeah,
take a break, girl.
yeah.
Uh,
uh, Why is it criminally underrated? For the mentions of what you did, yeah, what you said, it does divert significantly depending on your choice, and the whole screen filling up with that big message. Hey, this choice means you can either no longer stay in the city or you can no longer go outside the city. Essentially,
yeah.
um,
Okay, real quick. I got really scared when I got to that choice the first time because I didn't know if it was gonna give me an option to back out of it.
oh,
Uh,
I think
and
I
then
got scared too.
yeah, no, because I was like literally deliberating over it because I'm like, man, I don't know, because I haven't even met everyone in the mercenary guild yet, and I want to
Yeah,
talk to them. Like they're cool. Uh, but then I was like, oh, but oh
yeah,
oh shoot, what was her name again?
Ridley.
Ridley. Yeah, but like, oh man, but Ridley though. It's like that's kind of what it went down to. I was just also like thinking like, okay, well, okay, does this mean I'm gonna have to fight the humans then if I side with if I go after Ridley or something? Like what does this mean? And yeah, it was like having to deliberate that at that moment was pretty stressful, honestly.
No,
And th- and
I'm
then
with
and
you
then I
there.
got a little frustrated when I found out, oh, it gives you a confirm option after that. I was like, dang it.
All that for nothing.
Yeah. And it literally explains to you everything. It's like, by the way, if you choose to go after Ridley, you will no longer be able to return to the human town. I was like, oh, well, what was all that soul searching I was doing just like 5 seconds ago for then?
I had to grow up in 5 minutes for
Yeah.
nothing.
But yeah. Which side did you go with first?
I think I went with the non-human side first.
Okay, same.
Um, Oh. and I think I got to a certain point and I felt like I made a mistake. So I don't think I finished that side. I think I was underprepared, underleveled,
Oh
and
no.
so I think I stopped um and went back and redid the choice, and I think I had a better time with the human side.
Yeah.
um yeah, I think I had a better time with the human side, made it to the end, and then I was went back and did the thing. So
Okay. Okay, good. Okay. I was like, oh no. Uh
yeah, and
yeah.
I mean, due to like many of the choices on either side, I truly can't. I mean, honestly, I think I love the side with Ridley better than the other side, but both sides had great positives and negatives to
Yeah.
it.
I mean like arguably it's hard to say if the ending if the endings were really good, but I will say like all the time in between that on both routes are very interesting.
Hmm.
Especially if you do the side quest to recruit additional people into your
Yes.
party. Like I feel like on the non-human side it wasn't as interesting. There kind of were more kind of like um I don't know, like NPC fetch quests, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, you're right.
Whereas, like, on the human route, it well, I mean, they all basically were fetch quests essentially, but, on the human route, it was also just like, these were people you were seeing walk around town, like, every day, and they all had their own set schedules, so it was kinda like you got to be more familiar with all the characters,
Mhm.
just, like, walking around and seeing them as you were going off and doing other stuff. So it was just like, okay, like, you know, like the captain which I believe is, like, one of the last people you're able to recruit, um, because, like, she's the hardest one to get because you basically have to recruit everyone in the guild.
I'm a
Um,
nerd so hard. Her name is Elwyn.
Elwyn, yes, Elwyn with her sick cross slash.
Yes.
She can do a solo cross slash.
A solo
That's
3000.
ridiculous. She can
So
do
bad.
she can do a Chrono Trigger dual tech by herself.
Yes, the Chrono Trigger X Blade.
Yeah. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, that was another thing that made me play through multiple times was all of the different people who needed. I'm sorry, for those who don't know, 150 people you can collect.
yes.
Obviously not on one. You can get a new game plus. It carries over who you collected because you got to do two routes.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was there was the guy in the Warriors Guild that recruited you who had an eye patch, and if you got him, then you could get his friend who was in the Thieves Guild. You had to fight them both,
Yeah.
but they were necessary. There's a guy in a mage guild who will only join you if you have a whole party of females because he's a loser. Um, there's a
That
professor.
actually accurate, so
There's a professor who will join you after you've assigned his kid and leveled him up to a certain level.
Mhm.
There's all kinds. There's like a girl who is from the Magic Guild who goes to sing at a club at night, and you can see her magically transform. If you catch her, then she'll join you as long as you say keep your
Oh
list
my
secret.
god,
And
yeah.
there's tons of others. I mean, there's just easy ones you can grab. There's people we got to continuously talk to,
Mhm.
and Sam alluded to it. They've all got a preordained schedule, so it goes through day and night, and they all go to specific spots at specific times, and it's so great.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh my
now that I've
gosh,
talked about
I
it,
I
I can
forgot
definitely
about the
agree.
club singer. Uh, yeah, because I remember following her because I kinda had a crush on her, but,
Right?
but, um but then, like, I think I was, like, following her and then kinda realizing, like, "Oh, wait, I need to, like, treat this like stealth, actually." So I so it was just, like, trying to figure out, "Okay, how far back do I need to be away to, like, keep following them without them turning around and stuff?" Um, a and then getting to that point and just going like, "Whoa, what just happened? Why did she
Yeah,
transform like that? Why is it like
right.
that even?" It because there are things like that where it's just like for no with no explanation. There are just things that people will do and no explanation is given. And I'm just like, "Okay, I guess this is the game then." Um,
Yeah, it's up to you
uh,
to draw your own conclusion. She
yeah.
likes performing, so she magically transformed herself, you know, to go be at an adult bar. I think she's like like in high school or something, but I don't
Something
know.
like that? Wait a minute.
But yeah.
Okay. Adiada stories, NPCs.
Oh man. So while he's looking that up, the main character's name is Jack Russell. He's voiced by a very
Sorry,
popular
Jack Russell Terrier, I believe.
Jack Russell. Well, he acts like one for sure.
Yeah, yeah, he really does actually.
Yes. He's voiced by the same guy who does Aaron Yeager. So, um, he wants to become a knight just like his dad. So he sets off. His job is to become a knight. Loses to Ridley in the thing, but there's a guy who who knows Jack's dad and knows Ridley's dad and knows they were both best friends, so makes him a knight anyway. And then for some other reason, due to the story, he gets out of the knighthood. But then if you follow the human path, you actually become a knight and you become a better knight than your dad. I think in terms of like position. Um,
Oh yeah, pretty much.
so there is plenty of lore and richness to the story on both sides. They did not skimp out. And yeah, although it I do agree on the non-human side, fetching the orcs what did feel like a fetch quest essentially, but it still felt like they were opening up the rest of the corners that you didn't get to go to.
Hmm. I feel like if they were to report that today and just added like a fast travel feature, that would fix that problem for me, honestly.
Oh, they had a fast travel system, the blue flags. It
Oh, did
wasn't
they? Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
it was to key areas, like to the beginning of each area, not
Yeah,
to
you know
like
what? You're right. But at the same time, I think it was also just like um
traveling was still a
yeah,
difficult
you
thing.
did still have to do some work for that, so it still was kind of
Yes.
long. Okay, but never mind then. I it just does it does just feel long, honestly.
No,
Um
yeah, you're right. And because it was an action RPG, they did instill the monsters who were on the road. You could choose whether to fight them or not, but that still didn't really give you a feeling of choice because the roads were incredibly narrow,
mhm,
and like the local pig was the entire size of the road. So I get that. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, and yeah, talking about the post game dungeon. I think you mean dungeons, like 3 of them, I think, if I recall.
Were there? I forget. I just remember the golden one. Like that was the main one, but
The golden dragon, the
I think
or there was the dragon caves where you fought all the dragons, and then there was the
oh,
labyrinth, the
right, right.
Escher-esque dungeon, and then there was the last one where they introduced Valkyrie from the Valkyrie profile games.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. That's what it was. Um well no, she shows up in the post game dungeon, doesn't she?
Yes.
Right.
Actually, yes, I think it was before the last one, actually.
Yeah.
I think she was the boss, and then she was like, "Okay, I'll join you."
And she oh my god. I just remembered. She she always exits by sliding, which was a thing you could
Yes.
do in Valkyrie
Yes.
profile, which is slide. But
Okay. Oh my gosh, 20 years later now, I
yeah.
finally understand that why she slides off.
Yeah. It was so bizarre because like at that time I hadn't even really played Valkyrie Profile yet, so I didn't understand that. So but I remember seeing artwork and some cutscenes from Valkyrie Profile. And Valkyrie Profile, while arguable on the game quality itself, it does have like a much more adult story in comparison.
Mm,
Um, like or well, it's kind of melodramatic, but it was
more
more of a
serious?
yeah,
Oh, okay, melodramatic, I got you.
melodramatic, but still pretty serious. Just because like it was basically like encountering all these people who you're recruiting to your party, but they're dead, and it's just like, and you're basically
Oh.
enslaving them. Because that for Ragnarok essentially, because that's what Valkyries are. They go out and find heroes to recruit for Ragnarok, and to participate in that final battle. Um,
Oh, okay.
even though it's already ordained that like all the gods will fall, pretty much.
Right, they still
Yeah, but
give it their all anyway.
yeah, but yeah, and then I was just like, what, like, oh wow, I didn't know she was gonna be in this game. when I found her, and then she just slid away. I'm like, "What? What is this? What? I don't understand." So I ended up looking gameplay of it, and then I understood. I was like, "Oh, I see. I see now."
Gotcha, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay, well, I've got too much, and now I feel very comfortable with my criminally underrated game being such.
yeah, that's a pretty good one. Lufia 2, I also wasn't expecting, honestly, though.
It just I feel like it had itself trying to do like a hybrid of being like a Zelda-like game with having like a grappling hook tools and things you could use inside the dungeon for platforming and puzzle solving, but it also had the RPG mechanics and it also had a pet system. And it was like a whole bunch of things added on to like from the original game.
Yeah,
Um, and I was like, these are bold steps, but not exactly bad ones. So I don't know. But yeah, all those things are uh, all those things are reasons why I think it's underrated, but
mhm,
probably maybe almost a reason why it's underrated because it didn't really do it all too well. I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know. It's also been forever since I've played it, so I'm good to just move it on to you and your criminally underrated game choice,
yeah.
which is
So mine, it's more of a, well, I say more recent, but it came out um in like 2013. But even then, I feel like I feel like out of all the games that I've played from this studio, it's probably the one that honestly sticks in my head the most. Um, it's the one that I think about. It's the one that I think about the most. Where it's just it does have some flaws with its execution, but at the same time, I feel like it nails the vision that's going for so perfectly.
mm,
Um, and there are things in it that pushed not only the genre it was for forward, but it also utilized um every bit of the console that it was for as well.
mm,
Um, and it didn't even need to, and it still works even if you take the function of that console away. Um, and I'll stop with the preamble and just say it's the Wonderful 101 by Platinum Games. Um, and I say this very confidently because it's not just one of those things where it's like it's just like it was like it's not like an Okami thing or a Beautiful Joe thing or even really like a God Hand thing where it's like Okami, a Beautiful Joe, and God Hand all have very distinct flaws um where it's like they're more in tune with they're more in tune with like how video games were designed at the time and also for the consoles they were built for as
mm,
well. Um where and like some of them also feeling probably dated too. Whereas with Wonderful 101, it just never had a chance to shine. And it still didn't get a chance to shine even now, despite it making over to Switch and PC. Um, where uh, I can't really understand, or well, rather, I'm not really sure why more people haven't played it so far, considering it's like I said before, it's one of those very few games where it manages to execute on all levels the vision intended for the game. Uh,
Hmm.
and like, um, so so for people who don't really know what Wonderful 101 is, um, it's it is broadly defined as a character action game, with a slight twist to it, where normally you just play one character, and this one you play 100 as one character. Um, and what I mean by that
Oh.
is like Wonderful 101 when it came out on the Wii U had the distinct function of using the Wii U gamepad to draw certain shapes so that you could attack with essentially certain weapons. If I was to equate it, it would essentially being like weapon or style switching in Devil May Cry, uh, which is what it is, pretty much.
I got you.
And
Wow,
so
look at
you
this
could do
game.
that, but you didn't necessarily have to do that. You could also use the analog stick to draw the shapes instead. Um, and the nice thing about that is that the shapes didn't have to be perfect either, so that like in a sense they were more like fighting game inputs. Um, where it's like so okay, so for example, like you at the beginning of the game, you quickly get like three forms of attacks, which are fist, sword, and gun, and they all kind of have like their pretty unique purpose, and it's defined pretty much straight away. Um, for the fist, you make a circle. For the sword, you make a line. For the gun, you make an L. Uh,
Okay.
Fairly simple. And and like I said, they all have very unique mechanics to them that make sense and are very distinct from each other. Um, and while I will admit, it does take some time getting used to that. Uh, I feel like by the end, um, as long as you're engaging with all those shapes at the same time, you do get an understanding of how all these shapes work, and um, even then, you still get the freedom to kind of create your own combos in that game. Like there was no
Mm.
style meter or anything like that, but you still could do that if you wanted to. Um, and like there were a lot of hidden mechanics with it where it was like I believe to go into the drawing mode, you had to uh if you didn't want to if you didn't feel comfortable using the analog stick right away, what you could do was there was a button you could press that activated the drawing mode and then do it. Um, if wait, there? No, hang on. No, I don't think so. Oh, okay, my mistake. It's not that. It's not for that actually. You could actually just go right into the drawing. So you could you could draw one shape, and then there was one button that I would call essentially um like the free attack button, which was pretty much just like you just launched everyone just like dashed forward, um, and you just attacked with the people just directly.
Mhm.
And that had its own function too, where it was like if you attacked an enemy enough times, it would actually put people that you controlled onto that enemy because like you're basically controlling human-sized characters, but we're basically fighting uh like
Yeah.
building-sized enemies
Think
essentially.
Pikmin almost.
Yes, there were a lot of allusions to Pikmin when the reviews came out for it, which is somewhat accurate, but it goes
You can do so much more with this game.
yeah, you could go beyond that.
Yeah.
So there was that attack. So if you drew a shape and then you press that button, what it would actually do is it would send out the characters that made that shape into like an auto attack, and it would do like a 3 hit or 5 hit combo or something like that,
Mhm.
depending on the shape that you did. And then while that one is out, you could draw another shape still with whoever you had remaining,
Oh,
and manually attack or send them out to do an auto attack as well. Uh,
that's on the wish
and this
list.
would actually eat into your drawing meter, but that was like a that was like a very interesting way to do it, where it was like if you felt if you felt like there were too many enemies for you to handle, you could at least like send one group this way to kind of handle one side, and then you could go focus on the other one. Because then at least it's like, well, at least you're doing damage to the other enemy with this auto attack anyway. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and
That is really something.
yeah, there were a lot of stuff like that. There were also like a bunch of hidden shapes too. Um,
Could you find them by doing them, or did you have to learn them?
you did have to learn them, and originally um they weren't shown. They weren't actually shown right away. Or wait, hang on. Oh, actually, no, they were. If you had the tutorials on, so there was actually an option to turn tutorials off, um, which I suppose makes sense if you're playing through the game again. So it's like
Mhm.
you don't want to be bothered by tutorial messages popping up.
Right.
But yeah, they did tell you at first like what the hidden shapes were. Um,
Oh, okay.
but like what was really interesting was like how they had unique properties. So like there was one where you drew a heart and it would turn into a bow gun. Um, and it
Oh.
wasn't necessarily and it wasn't necessarily similar to the gun form. It had like
Mhm.
unique properties too, like um, because it's tied to a specific unique character. Um, whatever enemies were hit by it, there was a small chance of them getting charmed. Actually, um, and there's actually another character who has that similar effect for a different weapon form.
Mhm.
There was one that was like a naginata, and it could basically just be used like as a multi-hitting shield that pretty much just like kept going for as long as you wanted to, depending on the size of it.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and um, so I've kind of been talking nonstop about mechanics, and I could probably keep going for a little bit longer about that. But the other thing too that I really like about Wonderful 101 was that the story was very solid despite not really focusing on character development. Like there wasn't really any character arc um or any one uh that occurred in the story. It was just like a very straightforward world's gonna end type of story. Save the earth from an alien invasion. Uh
Mhm.
fairly fairly simple but executed like so well, where it was just like this is a video game built out of a love for video games. Like you could feel that love um throughout the entire game, where it was just um and like to say that the plot of Wonderful 101 is as well constructed as like a Gainax anime would be accurate. Um
Mm.
and because
Wow.
like there are so many like big moments, uh which is kind of a selling point for games nowadays.
Mhm.
Um but it's kind of like a lot of games now have like very strong beginnings. Uh and it's very difficult for them to keep that high all the way to the end or to even
Right.
ramp up. Wonderful 101 manages to ramp up every single time. Like every like every big
Ooh.
moment, there's an even bigger moment after that. Um, like not just mechanically, like literally, it goes from like okay, so like you're fighting a multi-headed flying serpent in the city, and that's like one major boss at the very beginning, and then the next one is um is just like okay, now you're fighting in like a giant you're fighting a giant mech in your own giant mech. Like
Okay.
that's a later boss. And it's done so uniquely that it's just like this is so absolutely ridiculous, but I love it at the same time. I don't want to spoil it because I think it's very fun, especially for the people who are big gamers.
Hmm.
Um, which is very cringy to say, but it feels very fulfilling when you get to that boss fight. Personally,
I got
to
you. Yeah, that's cool.
to the point where it's like at the end of the game, you're pretty much fighting a galaxy-ending nightmare. Uh, and
Yes. So it's
it's
basically the end of Gurren Lagann.
yes, yes. I didn't want
Yes.
to make that comparison
Throwing
right away, but
galaxies at each other.
yeah, honestly, honestly, may as well be. You may as well be by the end of the game.
That
It's so good.
okay.
It has one of my most. It has my most favorite QTE moment at the end of the game as well. Like
Mhm.
like button prompts are really hard to nail. Like I know there's that joke with press F to pay respects from Call of Duty, but I mean like nothing got me more excited in that moment when it was just like this is the button prompt and you just feel it with like your entire body and you're pressing the absolute you're pressing out the soul of that button to like finish it with the biggest hurrah ever. Um, like it's kind of crazy where it's like the final boss is the final boss, but also the victory lap. Um,
Oh, I love those feelings.
yes,
Yes, I love
it's
those feelings.
yeah, like like the final boss may not necessarily be as hard the hardest boss in the game, and it doesn't mean that it should necessarily either, right? Like
Well, yeah, I
it
mean,
may
Super
depend on
Metroid
the
proved that.
story. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, sorry, what was the game you just said?
Super Metroid proved that too.
Right, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Actually,
like
it's funny, because you mentioned that feeling, and for some reason, this is how my brain works. I immediately imagined the complete opposite of that, that required a QTE, but was so underwhelming that it didn't feel like an ending, and that was the one of Final Fantasy 15.
hmm,
Yeah,
that bad?
just per circle.
Oh boy. Okay.
And
Well,
they rarely did button prompts. So when he's just standing there with his fist raised back, ready to throw his ancestors at the, at the enemy, and it's
yeah,
like circle. Like what?
yeah.
Why does it stop?
I will say this as an aside. Even though the old series has its problems, I always loved how God of War starts, where it's like when the game starts when you press the menu button when you start new
Yeah,
game, and it just goes right into it. Not necessarily
that
QTE,
always
but it
jarred me.
has that same feeling
Yeah, that
that
always
I
jarred me.
imagine designers are trying to go for, where it's just like press the
What?
button for the action to start. Um,
Yeah,
which they did kind of bring back for the remake as well, which was
they
pretty
do.
good. Um, but we're not talking about God of War. We're talking about a better game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, like, I wish I could articulate it in some way that was just like interesting, eloquent, and was very compelling, but it's just like Wonderful 101 just slaps. It's like
Bussin'.
yeah, I just want to throw all the slang at it. Like it hits different. It's it's just one of
To
those it's just one of those extremely fulfilling games where it's like after you're finished, you're just kind of like, man, I do kind of want another game like this, but at the same time, I'm also just like, man, that was so much fun. I'm spent.
you literally felt like you come out of Super Saiyan mode
Yeah,
having just defeated Frieza.
yeah, pretty much.
You could, if you wanted to, buy as many copies of these games as you could and just hand them out, and people would be like, "Please, just
Yes,
play this game."
yes. Oh my goodness, I really want to do that. Like, it's
I
not
think I
even that
got
expensive
something.
anymore. It's still like 20 bucks,
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's
I know. Like, people have
it
other
to
games that they
me
want to focus on, but
it
it's
reminds me that video games, uh, platinum games like remembers that video games are for playing around with,
mhm,
and not just for telling a story and showcasing great graphics. It's for doing wacky, fun things that you can't ever dream of doing in real life.
yeah. It 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 definitely feels like that, and oh, and actually, I just looked it up. It's actually 40 bucks, right now, which
Oof.
is still not bad, but
Oh yeah,
I can
I'm sure it.
understand people not wanting to get games, by that much right now even, but, yeah. And I mean,
I'm
like
sure it goes on sale
yeah,
as much as possible.
IGN gave it a 9 out of 10, which is crazy
Nice.
to see for a platinum game, honestly, like and, like, for a game like this that it undersold it undersold every platinum game. That's the thing. Like, it undersold God Hand and Okami. Like, that's crazy because, um, because like, it doesn't even make sense because, like, even if it was for the Wii U, like, this game was licensed by Nintendo. Like, Nintendo literally came to Platinum Games and was like, "Hey, can you make a game for us?"
Fantastic.
Yeah. So it's just like it's like I consider it honestly like a complete disservice that this game never and probably at this point will never get its time in the spotlight for how amazing it is. It's only just going to be one of those games where it's like where like the people who've played it are going to annoy utter the utter nonsense out of their friends who are just like play this game. Oh my goodness, you got to play this game so much. And there are going to be people who are just going to be turned off by it and never play it because of that annoying friends. And then there are going to be people who are just going to be like, "Oh, whatever, fine. I'll play it. I'll play it. Just shut up." And then they play it and they go, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I ever doubted you." Um like I want Wonderful 101 to succeed so much because it's just like out of every platinum game, like this is the one where it's like it almost feels inexcusable for people who have like a love for video games to not play this game. Like even even if you didn't finish the game, it's like if you at least gave it a chance, it's like you could tell why the people who like this game really like this game. Uh it's that influential, I suppose. I don't know if I would call it an influential game. Um
Impactful.
but yeah, it's definitely impactful for sure. Like it's not about pushing the it's not about pushing the media forward. It's about the celebration of what we love to play. That's what it is to
Now
me.
that's now
Yeah.
that's strong words.
Yes, and I mean like if you're never gonna play, if you're only ever gonna play uh, a single game from Platinum Games that's not Nier Automata, because I know everyone's basically played that game, so it doesn't even count anymore. Um, make it this one. Seriously, like I don't know. Like yeah, there's also Okami, which is kind of a video game darling, and I completely understand that. But it's like if Okami is like there was one way people on the podcast I follow put it. I will put it like this: there are certain characters in every library of a company uh, where it's just like regardless of how they sold, they're treated a certain way. Like like God Hand is the utter loser, but you still love him. Um,
Mhm.
Okami is the darling. Uh, Beautiful Joe Beautiful Joe, I would say, is like the younger brother that you that you can't help but spoil because it's so endearing. Uh, like to me, Wonderful 101 is like it's like the star sun, if that makes sense. It's not whether they did everything perfectly or not. It's just that they know they did their best, and they're not going to make any excuses for it, or anything like that. Um, like that's how strongly I feel about the Wonderful 101. It is like it's hard for me to say if it's my most favorite game. Uh, but I will say it's in my top 3 at the very least. Uh, like
Cool.
I love this game to death. The fact that when they remastered it, they added like a bunch of these other features to it, thanks to the Kickstarter as well. Um, I I wish I could have just thrown all my money at it, because I would have if I could. Um, but yeah, like I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Like it's it's been so long, and there are people much more influential than me who have talked about this game, and it's just like I don't know what else to do with this energy other than just be like, why haven't you played Wonderful 101 yet? I
All
I,
you can do.
I don't know. Yeah, that's all I can really do at this point. But
All you can do. Unless you can find a way to get on news or somewhere influential and just cry your eyes out and scream, "Play Wonderful One!" Play it!"
yeah, I mean, I guess I could go on public broadcast, but I don't think that's really gonna reach anybody.
You never
I
know.
would fit right in with the part of the crowd that uses that to spout conspiracy theories and stuff like that. But instead, it would just be like, could you imagine that though? Just like some old crazy man, completely wired, just going like, "Why would you play video games?" But yeah, uh, but yeah, I guess take that as our resounding recommendations to play Radia Stories and The Wonderful 101. Uh, I wish Radia Stories was more. was more freely available, but unfortunately, I think it's only on PS2. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Hey,
don't know. I
maybe
don't
the
know if it ever got put on the PSN store. Even is it on PS now?
uh, I don't know.
Let's see.
Honestly, when they talked about the Spartacus, um, the Spartacus program coming out, I was like, man,
Oh
I really
yeah,
hope that's like day one. I know it's not going to be, but that would be so cool.
yeah, yeah. That would. Oh man, yeah. And I mean, like, um, even even then, there are so many RPGs that haven't made it over. That are just like, why aren't
Yeah,
these available? You know? It.
yeah, for real.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I think the only way you can get it is on a PS2. Unfortunately, I would say just go and emulate it, but I know it's a bit tougher to emulate PS2 games. I don't know if it's necessarily legally problematic to do that. Well, I mean, I don't know. They're all legally problematic. I'm aware of that, but even then, it's still just like, I don't know. Whatever. Play it however you can. That's what I'll say.
You can
Um,
get your hands on it, you won't be disappointed.
yeah. But I will say, Wonderful 101 Remastered is available on Switch and
Good.
PC. Uh,
I've got it wish listed.
I don't I don't know um if it came out anywhere else. I think it is just on Switch and PC. Um, maybe that's what I
Oh,
need
that's
to
so
do.
cool.
I need to figure out how to port it to PS4 and Xbox and or PS5 and Xbox, and maybe then I don't know. Anyway, that's it. We've gone on too long. That's gonna be it for us for this week. Yeah, if you like the podcast or if you disagree with us, uh, fight me. I dare you to change my mind. I don't know, but
Yeah. What's your criminally underrated video game?
yes, actually, I would like to hear that because uh, I know there are some that I haven't even heard of. I mean, like Radia Stories, I think is just like literally Radia Stories is just one of those where it's just like I happen to play it. Like that's the only reason why I know. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known about it. So,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Although it's really really impossible for you to say you hardly know all video games. I think you know more than anyone I know.
Uh, it's can't really say that because I don't really follow the European side. There's a ton of those games I don't know about. There are some weird games in Europe. Maybe that's another topic we could talk about.
Ooh,
I don't know,
that
but
does sound like a great topic. I could talk about RuneScape then.
yeah. Oh, but anyway, I don't know. Maybe we will. Who knows? But that's gonna be it. Uh, take care, everyone. Peace.